Welcome to the Mile High Real Estate Hustle Podcast by Arnaldo Arpero and Cesar Reyes. Today we have a very special guest today. We have Rafael Estrada, a fellow Peruano. He went from flipping receipts, flipping burgers, actually juggling
Receipts.
receipts and flipping burgers to now flipping houses every day. Welcome.
Thank you guys very much for having me.
We're excited.
Thank you, Rafael, for being here. I know it was easy choice of getting you over here because I feel like you have a lot of information to share to a lot of people out there. So thank you for being here.
Thank you guys.
So with the audience, please share a little bit about yourself so people get to know you and they know a little bit about you for the people that don't know you yet.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a real estate investor full time. So pretty much my strategy is fix and flips. So I do about 30 to 40 a year. I wholesale as well. I also have rentals. I think I'm up to 14 rentals out of state and within Colorado. And then I'm a real estate coach. So I teach people how to get into their first fix and flip. But that's pretty much in a nutshell. I've been doing this for about 4 years.
Nice, Rafael. And let us know, like, what were you doing before you were flipping?
Yeah. So, just a little background about myself. I moved to the United States at the age of 14, without knowing how to speak English. So I kind of went through the struggles. I came for freshman year in high school. So, I didn't know any English, kind of like worked my way up. And then I graduated high school. And then while I was there, I was working at Carl's Jr. That was actually my job at the time. And at the time, I didn't have papers. So I had to stay there. There was any other job that I could have. So I had to stay there for about 7 to 8 years because everywhere else, even if I had started where they were checking people's papers, so I couldn't really get any other jobs. And that was a little bit of my background. I didn't know anything better. When you're not from here, you know that most doors are closed for you, and you just have to work with what you have. So that's kind of like, a little bit of my background starting. But at the age of 22, I think it's when Obama started the DACA situation, and that's when I was able to get my Social Security number and as well as my license. So I was able to finally drive, not take the bus anymore, and that's kind of where I dove into working into the banking industry, which is actually one of the places where I've learned literally everything that as far as financial education. Credit cards, accounts, savings accounts, and I was also able to speak with a lot of business owners that used to come in. Some of them had a lot of money. Some of them didn't have so much, but I was able to help everyone in the same way. And I met so many good people over there. And I remember that everyone that had a little bit of money or, over 100K, they were all into real estate. So that's actually what sparked that in me to be able to get into real estate.
Now, tell me, Rafael, you said you were working at Carl's Jr. for like 7 to 8 years. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What about your parents? What were they doing while you were
of
working
course.
there?
Yeah, so my parents, I think my dad was a janitor for the Denver Health.
Okay.
So he wasn't actually working for the Denver Health. He was working through a third party because back in the day, if you don't have papers, you can't really work straight to Denver Health. And I think my mom, I don't remember I think she was cleaning houses at the time.
That's very interesting because I'm from Peru as well, and our family we specialized in working in the janitorial maintenance business. So I just always remember going to go clean office buildings with my parents, and we had like a little team going on. My mom would do the bathrooms, my dad would do all the trash, my brother and I would vacuum each floor, and then we'd be in and out like in an hour. And then also my mom worked in the restaurant industry, and she also cleaned houses as well too. She always had like 2-3 jobs. So, it's interesting to see that your family also did the same thing. I feel like, a lot of Peruvians, we got into the cleaning business right from the get-go, so that was like where they would put us in either the cleaning business or a restaurant business. So, but so it's interesting to see that you were also in that too, your family.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I think it's, my dad had to stay there for a little while. My mom also did because, as you said, you didn't really have too many opportunities as, being someone that doesn't have papers, and we had to pay the bills. I think at the time, I remember we were staying at an apartment. I think it was like a 3-bedroom apartment or 2-bedroom apartment, and me and my brother, we had bunk beds that we had to share, at the time, which was very interesting. But we all start somewhere, coming into America, so it was definitely a a humbling moment, being part of that. And then also waiting for the RTD every time, I remember that it would always take me like double the time to get somewhere just because I didn't have a car, because I didn't have a license. So that was definitely a really good memories that I remember, always missing the stop because I fell asleep in a bus or the train. And I would have to come all the way back. Like I remember that happened to me a bunch of times.
Nice. And so I see that you're, you got that hustle in you. And what I remember too, like back in like 2000, it must have been like 2014, 15. My office was over on Monaco and Leedsdale. We had a commercial building over there. And one day, your dad's name is Rafael as well, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So he pops up into my office trying to sell me how to do my business cards, and so he was a really nice guy, and I ultimately did some of my business cards with him. But I imagine that was probably he had a main job, and then that was probably his side hustle, that he was doing marketing, imaging, stuff like that for businesses. So he actually did some of my business cards back in the day.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so my dad actually, I got a lot of the hustle from my dad, obviously. I think he worked with a printing company at the time, and he was their top salesman. Because my dad is the kind of person that does not care about anything, as far as like he's not embarrassed about anything, and I think those are the best salespeople, because that they don't really care what people have to say about them. Like my dad is the kind of guy that will walk to a car on the street, literally drive in that's parked and try to offer services. Like that is my dad. He does not. He would go into any store, no matter if it's whatever race they are, whatever age they are. He would just walk in there, open the doors, and even though he didn't know English, he would just try to make his way, his point across, and try to sell something to everyone. Yeah. So I think I got most of my hustle from him, definitely.
Como dicen los peruanos, bien conchudo, bien sinvergüenza. Bien sinvergüenza.
Yeah, yeah. That's thinking about bien sinvergüenza.
Yeah. I like that. That's what I noticed about him. So it's just kind of interesting how, I saw him. I was looking at some fix and flip property, and I saw him like. Must have been like 2020 or so, and I was looking at a property and I saw him. I was like, "Hey, what are you doing here? I thought you're doing business cards and stuff." He was, no. He was like, "Mi hijo quiere ser fix and flip," and he gave me your email or something. I think you and I we exchanged emails, but I was like, whatever. This guy's work. I remember the email said Wells Fargo. I was like, this guy's working at Wells Fargo. Like he's not gonna be flipping. So yeah, it's crazy how it's a small world. It's a really small world. So.
Yeah, it is a very small world. Yeah.
So as you started transitioning through Wells Fargo, what skills do you feel like you learned at Wells Fargo that helped you be successful in the role that you're at now?
Yeah, so I would say Wells Fargo actually taught me a lot of things, because I come from the, working fast food. So I mean, there's not much that you learn there, but offering people a small, medium, or large, or trying to upsize their meals.
Hey, that's an upsell.
Yeah, that's an upsell. Yeah, it is. It is definitely. But I think it was also the clientele or the customers that we had. You were dealing on the food industry with people trying to eat, and then when you're working on a financial institution, it's more personalized, and you're actually sitting down with people. Obviously I started as a teller, and then I moved up to banker. I think it's just the relationships. So I've learned pretty much, when I started, I actually didn't even know what a savings account was or a credit card. Like I didn't even know how they worked, So by me starting there, I was able to learn everything about every product that we offer. I also learned about mortgages, which I had no clue what mortgages were. I learned about car loans, how car loans really work. So pretty much every single product that we offer is one of the things that I learned. And aside from that is just how to speak to people as well. Because as you know, Wells Fargo has a really good training. So they really teach you how to talk to people, how to offer, certain things depending on what needs they have. So I would say those are the best things that I learned. And that I was also able to apply all that on my own self, how to save money, that was a big one. How to start my credit, because I just barely got my Social Security, I was able to learn how to start my credit with like a small credit card or those were the big takeaways that I took from Wells Fargo.
So you didn't get your Social Security card on Federal Boulevard or Colfax Avenue? No. Of that?
Well, I did it. I did at the beginning, yeah. Because when I worked at Carl's Jr., I did buy. It was actually a funny story. Like before I worked at Carl's Jr., I worked at Sonic, and I remember I talked to the manager. He was American. Obviously, he was born from Colorado, and then I went to apply, and I was like, "Hey, I'm 14. Can you give me a job?" And then he was like, "Yeah, I can give you a job, but you'll need a Social Security and all that." And I was like, "Well, like I can't get one." He's like, well, you can ask your friends where you can get one, and then come back over here. So I literally did what he told me to do. So I told my mom, and I told my parents, and then so I got a driver's license and a social security that was not real, and I went back. And he knew about it.
$150?
Yeah, it was like $150. We took the picture, I think, in a random bathroom with a white background or whatever, and that was the start. And it was cool because the manager's the one that gave me, like, he was pretty much, you have the job, just bring in those 2 documents and you're good to go. So that's what I did. I brought the green card and the social security, and boom, I got the job there. But then I got fired like 3 weeks after because I didn't know English. So like they would order like a shake and a burger, and I would give them like a hot dog and some random.
So you were that guy.
I got fired. Yeah. I messed up so many orders because I didn't understand anything they were saying.
You're the one that gives the fast food people bad name.
Yeah. I messed up so much. But hey, it's part of the learning English, at the time.
Yeah, well, actually, you don't have an accent at all. So that's actually very impressive that you came in high school and don't have an accent at all.
Yeah. That's. I mean, it's taken a while. It's been like what, 20 years now, I think.
Oh, the drive-through, man.
The drive talking to everybody.
Because if you have a heavy accent through in the drive-through, you're gonna be like, what? They're gonna be like, what?
Yeah, because some people still do it. When I get fast food or whatever, if I ever, I can hear people's accents. Sometimes they don't have a cashier. They put the cook on there, to take orders and stuff. Yeah, which is funny.
So after Wells Fargo, what were you doing?
So after Wells Fargo, when I was at Wells Fargo, I was a teller and I was a banker. And then after that, as you know, I think you worked at Wells Fargo as well, right? So like usually people leave with their managers wherever they go because you're most likely going to get a raise. So I think I bounced from there to Chase. Then I worked at AMB Bank. Then I worked at Belco Credit Union. That was actually one of my favorite jobs, Belco Credit Union, because it was a credit union. And then from there, I came back to Wells Fargo. But prior to all that, since I had a social and I was finally able to feel like an American, it wasn't I didn't have a citizenship because DACA is kind of like a path to citizenship. Not really, but so the issue that I had is I was partying, I was trying to live the life like everyone else. And I got in trouble, because, I was making at the time it was decent money. I was making like $1,500 or $2,000 every 2 weeks at Wells Fargo, which was great money back in the day. And I just started partying and all that. And because I had DACA, I remember I got in trouble. I was driving drunk. I got in trouble. And due to that, I got picked up by ICE. And that's when it was like, like you feel like your life is falling apart. ICE picks me up at the court. So I didn't even plead guilty or anything. They picked me up. The guy's like, "Hey, give me your driver's license. Come outside." And then he took me on his car or SUV, and then I ended up in ICE for like 3 weeks to a month. Those were probably like you know how they say when you hit rock bottom? That was probably like the rock bottom of my life ever. And then after that, I was able to get out. Actually, I was able to get out with the green card, and that's when you don't see freedom for such a long time, so you kind of start appreciating how being free is, because when you're locked up for so long, you get depressed, you get sad, or whatever the case is. And then when I got out, it's when I was like, I need to change something about my life, and I was more hungry, believe it or not. So that's kind of was the spark that hit me, and I was like, man, I need to do something different. And that's when I got a job back at Wells Fargo, but I was in the mortgage industry, but I knew I was only there only temporary, because I knew that I was going to get into real estate. So I think 6 months after, I bought my first rental with one of my friends. Bought my first rental, did conventional loan and everything. And then a few years after that, I bought my first fix and flip.
Nice. Now, did you think while you were locked up with ICE that you're headed back to Peru? Like in your mind, were you thinking like, okay, what am I going to do when I get back to Peru? Where am I going to work?
Yeah. Oh, of
all
course.
That? Were you thinking all that?
Trust me. You're when you're locked up, your brain is going like 100 with all these scenarios and like thinking of what I'm gonna do tomorrow, like what's happening. Like I remember I still had the job when I was there for a week, but then eventually I lost my job. I was working at the time at KeyBank. My manager couldn't hold the job, so I was like lost it, whatever. But yeah, that was something. So every Friday, I had a lot of friends there. They were from different nationalities. There was some African friends, Venezuelan, Colombian, you name it, from everywhere in the world, not just Hispanics. And I remember every Friday, some of my friends will get deported back home. So I remember I used to hang out with them, and then Friday, the officer will come in and start yelling names like, you, and this person, come over here, get all your stuff, and boom, they will get deported. So like I knew every Friday, but usually you have a court date while you're in there. So I knew that my court date was coming, and it was a 50-50 chance. And I did think about what am I gonna do in Peru. I thought I was like, man, I'm probably gonna translate at an airport or.
Vas a vender papas en la esquina.
Exactly. That's one of the things too. I was like, man, I'm gonna work at the market. I'm gonna sell bags or something, or like those guys that come onto the streets like yelling, "Plátano, plátano," 50 cents.
With the squeegee, yeah.
or a Donofrio guy. I was probably gonna be a Donofrio guy, like a paletero guy. Yeah. So like all those things came to my head because obviously I didn't have any college. In Peru, you must have education in order for you to get a decent job. Like even to work at the bank in Peru, you have to have like actual go to university and all that stuff. So the only thing I could think of is being like a translator because I knew how to speak English. So I was like, maybe I can make some decent money. Because I did have a friend 3 years ago that I visited him in Peru. He got deported and he stayed there since then. And he opened up a barbershop and all that. So he's doing well over there. But the money over there that you make, it does not compare to the money here.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
How was your first flip?
My first flip. So just a little background about the flip. So, prior to flipping, I studied for like 6 months, 7 months on YouTube, just watching, random stuff because I just get out of, being locked up and I was starting kind of like a new life. So I wanted to, I just Googled literally like everybody else, how to make extra money or how to become rich, and then everything will pop up, all these different side jobs, e-commerce, you name it, stocks, real estate. And in real estate, always caught my eye. So then I went with my dad, actually. We flew out to San Francisco. We went to go see Raul Luna, which is a guy that speaks Spanish. He was showing literally properties, because in San Francisco, the cheapest property is like 800, $1 million. So he had a PowerPoint. He's like, you buy this property for like 800,000. You only put like 300,000 rehab, and you sell it for 1.8. And he's like, boom, you make $500,000. I was like, wow, that is crazy. Like, at the bank, $500,000, like it takes me like 5-8 years to make. I was like, those are crazy numbers. So then I came back hungry, and then at the time at that event, I met some hard money lenders. Their name is Conventus, and I got pre-approved there. I told them what I wanted to do, that I already had a rental. And then they kind of helped me out along the way. So when I came back, I was hungry and I was like, I'm just going to reach out New Western. New Western was already sending me deals. So then I went ahead and did my first flip. This was all prior to COVID. I think it was the same year as COVID. Okay. So it was around January. And I went on a contract with the $10,000 non-refundable earnest money. And then while I was in a contract, every hard money lender was like, we're not going to lend you because we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if you guys remember during COVID times. Yeah. Nobody wanted to lend. So I found one.
How much was your earnest money?
About was 10,000. So like I remember I was trying to back out. Actually, I called the guy. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna back out," and then they told me this stuff. It's like, "Oh, we can sue you because it's a real estate." It was like a representative and all this stuff, and I don't know if it was all true. Maybe they were just using tactics to scare me. But yeah. So I wanted to back out, and I was like, "Well, whatever. I'm not. 10K is better than me getting a house that I don't even know what I'm going to do with it." But I actually reached out to a few people that I know that were really big on the fix and flip game. And they were like, hey, you should still go through with it as long as you have exit strategy. So I was like, okay, well, if worse comes to worse, I can just go ahead and rent this place out. It had its own basement that had his own entrance. Mm-hmm. So I was like, maybe I can get double the rent. And it was in Park Hill or North Park Hill. So it was a good area. I remember I bought it for like $350 and I sold it for like $550. So I was supposed to make like $70K or something around there. So I went ahead and ended up doing it with a hard money lender that lent me like, I think it was like a 12% and it was 2 points up front. And I had to put down like 80% because nobody else could lend me. And I did it. I partnered up with my dad on it. And I went ahead and did it. And I remember at the time, I didn't have any experience with construction. So the guy that was supposed to do the work, he had told me $20,000 on a 1,600 square feet home. And then ended up being like $85,000 at the end of the day. And I think it was part of me not knowing what I wanted in a house. Because you got to understand, like in order for you to hire somebody, you have to let them know you need to do this and that and that. But I didn't know what I wanted in the house because obviously it's my first fix and flip. How am I going to tell him what to do? So if you don't know what to do, he's not going to know what to do. And that is kind of what made it go up all the way to like 85,000 because I was watching HGTV at the time, right? So like I told the guy, I was like, okay, we're going to do a new bathroom here, tear down this wall, do this, do that. And boom, I ended up spending so much money. But at the end of the day, I ended up making like $5,000 out of like a close to $600,000 home, which was not ideal, but like I tell everyone, your first deal is not going to make you rich, but it's literally all the knowledge that you need to be able to do the other ones.
That was like your school, pretty much.
Yeah,
your
that was my
flipping
school. Yep,
you know?
and I did it all on my own too.
Yeah.
So I don't. I asked questions to the hard money lender and people that I knew, but I was in it by myself. Nobody was mentoring me at the time or anything like that.
Yeah, and the thing that I like too is like one of the things that you're talking about. You talked about YouTube. When I was growing up in high school in my early 20s, YouTube wasn't really around. I don't think YouTube was around till like 2009, 2010. And I mean, there wasn't anywhere for us to get all that information or all that knowledge, or unless it's you meet somebody or you're going to college, and so that's what I feel like. There's so much opportunity for people who are out there right now who want to learn about something. They can learn so much from YouTube. And then the other thing that I like that you did is you invested into learning something. You actually flew out, to another state, and I'm sure you had to pay, $500 to $1,000 to go to Luna's class,
Yep.
or seminar, whatever it is. And, that ultimately helped you. You gained some knowledge from it. It helped you push you to do what you wanted to get into, which is flipping. But that's what I tell people is there's so much opportunity now with all the social media, with the YouTube, and the way you can just learn things right now so quickly. And even right now, I think you're doing like that mentorship, and that's, you didn't see that, 15, 20 years ago, I mean, people didn't have access to that, I mean, when I started flipping and wholesaling, I'm talking about 4, 5, 6 years ago. I mean, I wish I would have started, in 2005, 2006, but ultimately, I think I got in late to the game, but I'm here now. But, you were able to learn a lot through YouTube, going to these seminars and learning that way. And I think that's huge. That's huge what people can do now.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very true. So, I mean, so that's what I tell always all my students. It's, I wish when I started I had someone guiding me through it, because I come from the banking industry, which doesn't really help you much on the fix and flip. So that is kind of what I say for all my students, is trying to make all those L's, those losses and those mistakes that you can potentially make. Because when we're talking about fix and flip, as you guys know, the mistakes that you can make, they cost money.
Yeah.
And, if you can potentially lose a lot of money if, you make a big mistake.
Exactly. I remember one of my flips that I did is, I spent a lot of time there, and I lost $20,000 after holding costs, and I went way over budget, and the property was on the market a lot longer than I expected. But those losses though are still gains in a way,
yes,
if you make it, because you could grab that loss and say, oh, I'm done, and you quit, and that'll happen to some people, but if you grab those losses and try to look at the positive side of it, it could catapult you into, doing something else or learning from that huge mistake that you made, so that the next time, you're actually making profit. So I think it was nice that you didn't lose money, but I'm sure for the next one, then you were a lot more seasoned, a lot more experienced, and I think you probably, did you hit off the next one on your second?
Yeah.
Did you do
So
well?
after single family, because my first one was a single family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after that one, I was traumatized about single family. So because like on inspection, man, I had sewer line crack, roof crack, radon, and I was like, oh man, that's already 20 G's. So after that, I just did a condo, man, and I fell in love with condos. I for a while I was known as the condo king or whatever. Like I was flipping so many condos. So I got a condo right before 1 week before closing, and on that condo I made $15,000, and I was like, man, I made more on I think I sold it at 157,000. I made more on the 157 condo than a single family for almost 600,000, and it took me less time. Less rehab, less everything. Because on that single family home, me and my dad was there literally every single day. He wanted to make sure that everything was going to, as planned. So the condo was easy. It was like we were in there 3 weeks, sold it to a cash buyer. So literally from start to end, we were in there for like 35 days and make $15,000 on it. And after that, I just stuck to condos. I did probably another 15 condos after that. And the second year I flipped over I think it was 15 deals, and 90% of them were condos, because I was just so in love with condos. And after 3 years, I went back into single family. I was like, okay, maybe single family is not that bad. I'm not traumatized anymore, so let me go ahead and do it. So I just got one with
you like
fixed
those
spread.
challenges, and so
Yeah.
And I heard too that you tried with houses that had structural issues.
Yeah. So I like to do a lot of those, because I'm a kind of guy that likes to be, I guess, unique a little bit, or I like to go where everybody's running from. So that's why structurally issues home is where most people are like, oh my God, it's so scary. But you gotta understand that at the end of the day, you just add this structural bid on top of your rehab numbers, and then you just calculate it that way.
Yeah. And it's what's funny is that we just closed the deal. We collaborated on the deal together like
Oh, yeah.
a week ago, right? And,
Yeah, a week
and this
ago.
one had when I walked through the house and it had structural issues, the first person I thought of, let me call Rafael. And
we
it was
did the
actually
deal.
in the same neighborhood that you had just sold another house,
Another
where,
house, yeah.
where I was under contract, and I think that house probably had structural issues too.
Yeah.
But when I walked this house, I was like, yeah, you know what? Let me call Rafael, because I saw one of his social media posts that that he likes picking up these houses with structural issues. So let me see how much he really likes. So that's how we were able to collaborate on the deal.
We did
So,
the deal though.
yeah,
we got it done.
We got it done. So that's what counts.
We all made money.
Yeah.
I got to ask you a serious question.
Yeah.
Taking all these structural issues, disclosing seller's personal disclosure.
Yeah.
Have you ever been sued?
Yeah. So I've been sued at the beginning. So I was with a business partner that we did a structural issue. This was at the time when I didn't know that we had to disclose it. Because obviously, I'm a first fix and flipper. I don't know what to disclose. I'm not a realtor.
This wasn't on YouTube.
Yeah, this wasn't on YouTube, so I'm not a realtor. So I picked up the property. It was off market, so there was nobody to tell me what to disclose or what I did. Also, the realtor that listed it didn't know what I did. But I remember that I fixed it up. I did do the structural work. We did pull permits and everything. Ended up being like $25,000, and we closed on it. Everything was happening. Everyone was happy, but we didn't disclose it, obviously. And then 2 years later, we get sued, and it was because some of the fixing that they did, it was leaking into the basement, and then the basement flooded, and then they took off all the drywall, and they found out all this kind of like patches that we had or steel columns that we put on there, and then they looked more into it, and then they tried to sue us for like 200 and change thousand. But one big reason was that I don't know if you guys remember in the last 6 months when it was raining a lot and a lot of places flooded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of the issues that made that happening.
Yeah.
But honestly, like a lot of property, like I think 3 of my rentals flooded too as well. But it was just that they opened up the drywall, and at the time we went to court, we fought it, yada yada. And then at the end of the day, luckily they also sued their own realtor. Because we didn't fill out a what is it called? The property disclosure. Yeah,
Seller's property
SPD.
disclosure.
Yeah. So we didn't fill that out. So they blamed their own realtor that said that he should have pushed for us to fill it out.
Yeah.
And then luckily, because his insurance kicked in, he kind of covered most of it. So at the end of the day, we're settled for $50,000. So we just settled literally like a month ago, at the beginning of the year. So I think I'm almost done paying that. But it was good. The good thing about having a partner is that you share the wins, but you also share the losses. Yeah. So I'm kind of glad that I shared that loss with a partner, and I wasn't in it by myself. Yeah. So it was, and we actually made good money on that one. I think we made like $85,000 on that one 2 years ago, which was crazy because you would never expect somebody to sue you like 2 years later.
Yeah, 2 years later.
2 years later. So I was like, man, this is crazy. But
sometimes the cost of doing business.
Yeah, it is the cost of doing. But now, now I know better. Obviously. So every time that I were to buy something, and we do the structural work, we'll go ahead and disclose it, and we'll just give them their engineer letter, and then we're good to go.
So Rafael, tell me, I know you're looking at a lot of properties daily. You got a lot of wholesalers. You got a lot of realtors calling you. What's your process for analyzing a property and to see if it's a good deal? And then once you do close on it, like what are the steps you're taking next? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So I do. Yeah, my phone is always blowing up right now. I probably have a lot of calls and messages, but with deals. So it's like, as you know, deals come to you, but you kind of you want to move fast because these deals, they don't wait for you, man. Especially right now that the market is hot. These deals do not wait for you. You have to either go there right away or try to come up with a number right away that you can offer that wholesaler or MLS deal. But the process is like, I get it, and then I either analyze it myself or send it over to my assistant, and she goes ahead and analyzes it. Usually what I'm looking for, if it's a house of ARV, which is the comps or after repair value below 600,000, I like to get about 40,000 at a minimum as far as the profit. And if it's a condo or townhome, those can work. Minimum I see 20,000 on those. And if it's luxury, minimum I see on that is about 6 figures. So it has to be at least 100,000 because I know I'm going to put probably more than 100,000 on that property. And it's also the time that takes and all the designing that you have to do on that home. But that's generally the rule that I do. Pull comps as soon as I get it. The first thing you do is pull comps because you want to make sure that the comps are correct. And then from there, I work it backwards. I have a calculator where I subtract, I have the ARV on top, subtract the closing costs, subtract the real estate commissions, subtract the rehab, and then also subtract the holding cost. And then whatever the number is, then I subtract my 40K profit, and then boom, that is going to be my offer.
So for like a single family, you at least want to make 40K on the deal, right?
Yep.
So like if you're making 45, 50K on the deal, after all you'll do the deal.
Yeah, I'll do the deal. Yeah, of course,
and then for a condo, if you're making over 20,000, you'll do the deal.
Yeah. But for single families, obviously if it's a house under 1,000 square feet, I'm okay with 30. Those are specific scenarios because I know I'm gonna be in and out in those homes like easy. Like I just picked one up on Tejon. I think everybody was all over that deal and on the MLS. I think it was 1150 or 1190 Tejon Street, up north. Not up north, but close to Denver. But that one, so we calculated about 50K on that deal. It was an MLS deal. I was the backup offer. So most of the MLS deals that I'm getting, I'm like the backup offer. So whether that person falls through, they usually call me. But yeah, those deals, like that house is actually 1,000 square feet. And, I know I could have offered more, but I always try to stick around like 40K. Just because it's a sweet spot.
Yeah, it's you're still making money at 40K, 60, 90 day turnaround. I mean, you're still good.
Yeah, and if it's more, I can always turn around because I have the options because I do both. I can wholesale it or flip it myself. So, it just depends what I want to do with that deal.
So the question I have for you now that I know you've been flipping for a while, and I think just recently, maybe in the last year or 6 months, you started to wholesale a few deals. Tell me how you feel about the flipping and about the wholesaling. Like what's your opinion on both, and what do you like and what don't you like? But tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with fix and flips because I've doing fix and flips for 4 years, and honestly, I love fix and flips because everything that I do on the fix and flip side, it's you can delegate. I'm a big delegator. I like to delegate literally everything I can.
You don't take your hammer. You're not doing any of that?
No, I don't do any of that, bro. No.
Where are these calluses from?
No. Like even my personal cars, I don't wash them. I have a detailer come in. We have a cleaner at the house, all that stuff. So I like to delegate everything because I like my own time where I can, make more money, look for deals and all that. But the reason why. What's funny about this is that wholesale, I was always against wholesaling. Like, I never wanted to do wholesaling. I would always talk crap about it and all this stuff because fix and flip, you can delegate everything. You just go ahead and get the deal done. You have your contractors come and fix it up. And then I call my cleaner, comes clean it. I call my stager, comes stage it. I call my realtor, walks it, and lists it. And then I show up to the title company, boom, and I close. So I don't have to do too much. And I love that about fix and flips because it's something that you can delegate. And as you guys know, I travel a lot. So there's many times that I've been doing closes in, Paris or in Amsterdam, or I'm in Peru, Colombia, whatever the case is. And literally I'm calling, my cleaner, my stager, and everyone, Gerardo to take photos and all that stuff. So everything is streamlined. I don't really have to do much. I get the text messages from Home Depot. I approve all the materials that way. So it's like so easy for me. And I've been doing it for so long that it's already on autopilot. Now, when we talk about wholesaling, where I started doing that in September last year, believe it or not. But it's been good because I've been having every single month since September, I've been making $30,000 every month. So I do like the money part, but it is more time consuming, man. It's a lot more like I have to show the houses sometimes.
So you're looking at a lot more properties, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at a lot more properties. It's a lot more miles on the car. A lot more analyzing deals because whether I'm buying it or whether I'm passing it on to all my students or my buyers list, like I want to make sure that it's a good deal and then send it over. But the good thing is I have an assistant, so she can go ahead and show the properties for me. But I kind of want to see them because some of these homes have structural issues, so sometimes I don't get to know until like somebody walks in.
Or sometimes the numbers aren't there.
Yeah, the numbers aren't there.
They'll tell you it could sell for this and it doesn't sell for that. Or they'll tell you the fix-up cost is this, but it's not.
Yeah. But what I do like it about it sometimes is like when I was in Colombia, like, what was it, 3 months ago, I was able to close a few wholesale deals. And all I did was just send a text and was like, hey, I have this property, and then boom, everybody went. It was vacant. They opened up the home, and then they put the offer in while I was there. Literally, and then while I was there, it closed because I was there for 3 weeks. In 2 weeks, boom, I got the wire into my account, and I never even seen the property, never even walked the property with anyone, and I did like that about that. But that doesn't always happen. I have to be more. I have to see the property for the most part, and kind of connect the dots, make sure that the property is good.
But now that you got your fix and flip business, on autopilot, now you could have the best of both worlds by, doing well with wholesaling too. So I mean, you don't have to flip every single property that you look at because sometimes the flip might not pique your interest as much, but you could still make a profit out of it by wholesaling it too. So you get the best of both worlds. So I think that's great that you're doing that as well.
Yeah. That's actually a good thing you touched on there, because I do have a few buyers that are cash buyers, which their numbers are a little different, or I have a few buyers that are contractors, which their numbers are also different.
Yes.
So they are going to be able to buy things a little bit more that would be for us more tighter. That for them is a deal. You know
exactly,
what I mean?
and that's because either they're a contractor and they don't have to spend X amount fixing it up, or if they're buying it cash, they don't have to take into consideration like the whole cost. Like when I'm flipping a property, I know one of the values that I bring. I'm kind of in the same boat that you are. I'm the worst contractor in the world. I don't even carry a hammer. I'm not good at any of that stuff, right? But the value that I bring is I get them at a super cheap price, and then I also buy in cash. So I'm saving money there on the holding costs, and then I'm getting it directly, so that it's not passing 3-4 hands and everyone's already eating part of the pie. And then finally, our margins are slim, So I think that's good that you touch on that, because that is true. We have a few flippers that we work with as well. That it just seems like for instance, that property that you looked at, Aurora, you were coming in at like 310, 315, the one with the
Mexico.
Yeah, that one. No, not Mexico. The another one that we were looking at on 25th.
Oh yeah, that one.
So we ended up selling that one for like I think 348, and we sold it to one of our flippers who he does all the work himself except for a few things that he contracts out. So his margin is better in a sense because he doesn't have to pay out so much for labor costs. Where someone like myself, I'd have to pay for the labor costs, or unless I get it, at a super cheap price. So and that's completely right. If you're selling it to an end buyer flipper who does the work himself, he can pay a little bit more.
Yeah, because those people are usually the ones that do one at a time, usually, because obviously they cannot be at 2 properties at once. So, but yeah, there's people out there that are okay with that too, because they're all cash. Like, for example, my dad, he wants to do like 1 or 2 a year where, he buys it all cash and stuff. So he doesn't really care too much about the big profits. But as long as he gets 1 or 2, it's, he makes like 50, 60K, he's content. You know what I mean?
He's Peruvian. He don't want to pay interest.
Yeah. He does not want to pay interest. But, but then we have me on the other side where I have, I'm up to 13 flips right now going at once. So today is actually the first, right? So my account is probably looking really sad right now because all the mortgages just came out today or by the end of the day. So I don't even want to look at it. But yeah, it's something that I have to play with using the bank's money or Harmony loans.
What would you say to like someone who's listening out there who wants to start in flipping or wholesaling and doesn't have a lot of capital themselves? Like what would you tell them if they wanted to get in this business? How should they start? What would be your advice?
So there's a couple things. Well, first thing you got to start. Well, yeah, that's a good. I didn't even think about that. So first thing is knowledge. So yeah, that's actually I'm gonna give like 3 different options. But first one, it will probably be like if you have a little bit of money and you want to do it the right way, you can hire a mentor, like myself or anybody else out there. Second, if you want to do it free per se, just watch a lot of YouTube, listen to podcasts. That's going to give you a lot of the knowledge that you should have and all the terminology that you need to know, how to calculate things. There's so many free calculators out there on Bigger Pockets, or you can just put Google you can just Google it, fix and flip calculator, and you can find so many of them. And then the third, it's going to be just partner up with someone, like maybe not start fix and flipping, maybe try to find deals, which I have some people doing that don't have a lot of money. The other thing is maybe partner up with maybe somebody that has money, like a 9-to-5 or a relative that probably has money, and he can give you, 20, 30,000 or whatever the case is, and then use the credit card for the rest of it. And then that way you can do it. But maybe start with something cheap like a condo, because those are easier to do and faster. So I always tell everyone, I was like, hey, what property should I start with? I'm like, use a condo if you don't have that much funds. Yeah, I do have one of my students actually. He's actually the first student ever. He's picked up his first flip is a luxury flip. Whoa. Which is crazy. Yeah, he went big. He's like, I'm gonna go big or go home. But he has the funds. So yeah, it's kind of cool to have him on this second group because I'm mentoring him. And yeah, he picked it up. It's actually on MLS. He picked it up for like $565 and he's worth like $810, $850. So yeah, and I told him, I was like, yeah, I'll help you throughout. Just know that this is a different ball game. Like, trust me. Like I told him, I was like, not all investors do luxury, because I do luxury, and I know like there's only a handful of people that do luxury. We're talking about like 800 plus ARV. Yeah, that's usually what I consider like. There's also luxury, which is like 2 million and up, Cherry Hills properties and stuff. But yeah, that's what I would always tell anybody that would say, try to get a lot of knowledge, and then maybe start with the condo, and then try to get a few credit cards that have balances, because those credit cards are going to help you out to get to buy the materials and all that stuff. You can also try to, if you have a good credit, you can get personal loans, which I heard some people do that.
Or like the business loans.
Yeah,
too.
business loans. Yeah. You can get like a 15K, and like some of these condos, you only need like 10K, 15K. I do have a hard-money lender that lends you 100% on the purchase price, and then but makes you pay 2 points up front and then 3 months of interest, which is worth it if you're starting, you don't have money.
Exactly.
Because then you can just use the credit card afterwards.
Yeah. I always tell people too, like if you don't have any capital or money right now, I mean, you should know somebody that has some money too, exactly. Or a family member that has some credit, or at least some equity in their property, so they can get a HELOC, home equity line of credit, and start that way. You know, I think ultimately too, though, it comes down to relationships. It's like who you know, and people want to trust you. And so, you know, if you want to use somebody else's money, you got to build those relationships too, so that they can trust you, and so they can lend you some money. And then, you know, maybe on your first 2-3 deals, you use that person, and then you have your own money, and then you don't have to use that person anymore. But I think that's always a good way to start too. But yeah, you hit on all of them. You know, I think those are very, very key for someone who wants to start and is looking to get into this business and doesn't have the capital, the means necessary. Talk to a parent, talk to an aunt, talk to a cousin or brother, or someone that they trust or they've worked for, who, you know, they've gained their trust. And I think that's key. Relationship business, man.
Yes. And the more, after you do your first fix and flip, you have that proof of concept. Like, which happened to me, you know, you just post everything on social media, and then money just comes. Like, it's just so easy. People are just throwing money at you. Literally, the more you post about it, what you're doing, like, people are just throwing money at you. Like, I have like 5 or 6 other people that I haven't used their money from, and they're just on the waiting list, kind of like until I get the next deal, maybe.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's all through social media, right?
Yeah, all through social media, yep. Because you got to understand, people have 50, 60, 70, 80K. A lot of people do have it, and they're getting, less than 1% at the bank, where I can pay them, you know.
Don't be talking about Wells Fargo like that after all they've done for you.
No, but I mean, yeah, nobody pays, even on the high yield, like, they don't pay you much, you know. So you can come with me, and then, like, you know, I can pay 10, 12% a year. On the 50K, you can make $3,000 in 6 months, which is more than what the bank will pay in like 4 years.
Interesting.
We all put it, you know, obviously we put it all on the paper. We sign a joint agreement, and we're all good to go.
And now at this stage, you're not really partnering up with any other investors on some of your flips or anything like that?
No, I don't partner up with people on fix and flips, just because I don't really see the advantage, because I can find the money, I can find the deals. I got my guys. I run 7 crews at all times. I would partner up with someone, maybe if they're funding the whole thing, potentially. I do partner up with people on the rental side, because I do buy a lot of out-of-state rentals. I just bought, I think 3 weeks ago, we bought a duplex in where is it? Somewhere in Tennessee. I don't even know, because I've never been there. Somewhere in Tennessee, close to Nashville. Shoot, my partners are going to kill me because I forgot the city. But yeah, somewhere in Tennessee, I bought it. So I love Tennessee because it's something that we cannot find here in Colorado. As you guys know, Colorado is a very hard place to cash flow, you know.
Yeah.
You see duplexes for like close to $1 million, like 800,000 in Denver. Like, how can you cash flow there? You need to put 50% down, you know. But in other places like Tennessee or Georgia, where I do have a lot of my properties, the rents are pretty much the same as here, but the entry level of purchase price is very low. Now, the only caveat about that, the con, is that things don't appreciate as much as they do here.
Yes.
Yeah. So like we just bought that duplex for around $240,000, and it's gonna be worth like $380,000, and we're only putting $10K on each side. So on each side, and then we're gonna rent it out. Each side is gonna rent it out $1,800 to $1,900, and then we're gonna do a whole the BRRRR strategy. You know, buy, refinance. No, buy, rehab, refinance, repeat. I can't remember the words, but yeah. So, but yeah, that's what we do. I think I've done close to over 10 BRRRRs, but they're all out of state because it just doesn't work here. It's a little harder here.
Okay. One other question that I have for you too is, tell me about your Lamborghini. You know, I know that people see it on social media and they're like thinking, oh wow, whoa, that's a lot of money to get into that kind of debt or that type of payment. What do you think? Do you think, by having a vehicle like that it's actually helped your business grow as well, where, maybe more deals are coming to you as well, just because people are like, this guy's buying a lot. So maybe the Lamborghini pays for itself with the extra business that you've gotten.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually a good question. Yeah, so the Lamborghini, it's honestly, ever since I got it changed a lot of things. Like it's been for the better. But I got it strategically. So when I bought it, it was when I was going to release my real estate coaching side. So I don't want nobody out there to say, oh, you start making money selling education and you got your Lamborghini. I got my Lamborghini before I started my education. So the reason why I got it is because people love, the nice material, shiny things, like a nice watch or a Lamborghini, whatever the case is, because that kind of has a proof of concept to people. So like if you're hiring a mentor, would you rather hire someone that has a Honda Civic or someone has a Lamborghini? So that's kind of part of my personal brand, and honestly, it has helped out a lot. It's opened doors for me that when I just didn't have the Lamborghini, I couldn't get in, and now I'm able to be part of these different groups, these different people. We're talking about they could be like Nuggets players, it could be football players, all these people that have also the same cars or are hanging out at the same places. So it's helped a lot with the business. I get more deals. Everyone knows me now as the Red Lamborghini, so it's my name pops up everywhere literally when it comes to real estate. Hey, this guy, that guy. So yeah, a lot more deals come to me, and it's helped. Mainly, it's helped me out on the education side. So believe it or not, the car is already paid fully, all because of the education that I sold. So I had 2 groups already and close to 20 students, and all that has been paid in under 5 months that I bought the Lamborghini back in July.
Nice. So now, what's the next Lamborghini you're gonna get?
Well, we have the Urus right now too as well.
Oh, nice.
That my wife just bought. So, well, she traded in the G63 that we had, the G wagon. So now we have 2 in the garage.
Nice. What do you feel is gonna be your next level, the next step that you got to take on for your business career?
Yeah.
DJ?
So I'm diving in right now a little bit on the multifamily. We put a few offers, so I think that's something that's always caught my eye.
To hold on or to fix and flip?
So if you buy if you this is what I always tell everyone, like if you buy a good deal, you can decide later whether you want to fix and flip it or you want to keep it. You just go ahead and do a whole burr or refinance out, and you can sell it out. But probably more, the first one might be like a flip. It's the same thing as a regular fix and flip, but just with extra zeros on the right side, on the millions, obviously. And that's something that I really want to get into. I've been looking up north, like really Brighton area, because it's a little bit cheaper.
A little cheaper.
You can get like a 7 unit for like 700, 800,000, 7 to 10 units. So it's a lot cheaper, and it cash flows over there. So I think that's going to be the next step in regards to that. Bump up the wholesale side a little bit. Probably the fix and flips, because this is going to be a really good year because the rates are low and the market is hot right now. So I doubled down on as many flips as I could get. I have 13 right now, so it's busy right now.
Okay, Rafael. What else do you? Apart from flipping and wholesaling, what else are you? What do you do for fun? Like, do you like to travel?
Yeah,
like to work out? What is it?
Working out is obviously I do that like 5 times a week, and then traveling is my number one thing. That's where I spend most of my money. Traveling. I'm going to Peru in like a couple weeks. I only have a one-way ticket, so we'll see when I come back. But I'm gonna be doing a lot of business from over there, So so I have a lot of trips lined up for this year for sure. I feel like trips for me are a must, because otherwise, if I'm here physically, I'm gonna be working. So that's like the only way that I can take myself away from the business and have it run itself. Have my guys, have my assistants step in, and make sure that everything goes correct, and I'm just over there having fun.
Okay.
Got it. Gonna eat that ceviche, papa la
Uy.
huancaína, and all that good stuff, right?
Little guinea pig.
Little guinea
For all the
pig?
listeners, stay up to date on my stories. I'm gonna eat some guinea pig when I'm there.
Cuy. Yeah.
I'm gonna kiss his head.
What kind of music do you? What's like the favorite concert you've been to here in Colorado?
Favorite concert?
Yeah.
Shoot. No, I mean I love EDM and reggaeton. I mean that's my. We went to a concert like Eladio. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. Did you want to tell this story where you got kicked out?
You got kicked out. Yeah, those are some definitely fun times that we had, But yeah, anything with related to electronic music, reggaeton, whatever the case is here in Colorado. But I try not to go out too much here, because I like to go all out when I'm out of state or out of the country, because it's just funner. Because here you got to drive, and yada yada. So yeah, but it's fun. So we'll see what happens this year.
Rafael, what is your family, your parents? What do they think about some of the success that you've had? I mean, are they proud of you? What do they say? What do they tell you?
Pushing you?
Yeah, no, they're very proud of me because something I didn't say is my dad was the one that bought all the tickets to go to that Raul Luna event. So he's the one that kind of pushed me. He's always been the kind of dad that wants to push their kids to get into a business or start their own thing because he was an entrepreneur, or he's still an entrepreneur. So he wanted us to be the same, have our own business. So I think it's he sees all the fruits of my labor. So yeah, they're both very proud. So whenever we get to hang out, we always have a good time. They also being able to go to Peru as of last year. So we all went together, and we've been having fun. It's our first time going back to Peru in like 20 years.
That's so
all together.
Yeah, so it's crazy.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, because when we left with just a ticket here and a plane, and we overstayed our visa.
Is that why you only book one-way tickets?
No, it's funny because you have to get a round trip when you come here because they ask you. They know already. Like
if you get one way, they're like, no, he's staying.
Yeah. They always ask you all those things. They ask you where you're gonna stay, all this stuff, because they know people overstay their visa here.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about those Latin parents, man. They're always pushing you. I mean, all parents in general, but they're gonna be pushing you and to be more, to do more, to do better than what they did. And I think my parents have done the same thing. They're always pushing me to do more. Even nowadays, they want me to do more, and they want me to be more successful, a better human, better husband, and all that. So I mean, it's just I think we're gonna get that our whole lives. So
I know my dad's always telling me, he's like, "What's next? What's that?" And I was like, "I already have enough. Like,
Tone it down a little
bit. Do?" Oh, he's like, "What is the next business you open?" I'm like, "Wait, chill. Like I'm over here busy already. Like I can barely handle what I have."
No, but actually, you should open up a title company or a transaction coordinating company.
Yeah, that could be. Let's talk about it. No, definitely. That's something I want to do also. Probably before the end of the year, get into other businesses outside of real estate, just because I like starting things and see how they go, and put someone that is like if it's a restaurant, put a chef in there, or just delegate it, be the money guy, and whatever the case is.
Is that something that you would, when you say other businesses, is that something that you kind of have an interest in investing into a restaurant business?
That's one. And then like before I got into real estate, I was flipping cars, and I was actually studying to get my dealership license. And I just got my first fix and flip, and I just stopped studying on it. But that's something that, because I love cars, so that's something that maybe eventually I want to get into. But, I would like it if I'm just a money guy and, delegate, have a manager and stuff. Because, where I am now, I'm like too busy doing things. So you're not going to see me like at a restaurant, like, collecting payment. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not the best use of my time.
Yeah, I always looked at, to me, my end goal would be one day to have a lot of capital where I'm just lending to fix and flippers. And that way, I'm just lending money to fix and flippers, hard money. Smart. And then that way, I'm just chilling because, ultimately, everyone has, an exit strategy or exit plan. And, I have one in my head. And
that's going to be more passive too.
There's a number there in your head that you want to reach to in order to get to that close to retirement or semi-retirement. And I think, that's kind of where I would want to go, is to one day have enough capital so that I can just be lending money and that money's just coming back, making nice interest on it.
Yeah, because that'll be more passive. What's something that people have to understand is what I tell people is fix and flips, wholesaling, being a realtor. It's all related to the same as kind of like running on a treadmill. That's what I tell people. So the minute that you step out of the treadmill is when you are no longer making money, because it is active income. So that is something that I always tell my students also, is like you have to work towards, putting your capital to work for you and try to get some passive investments, whether it could be what you just mentioned or rentals, which is why I like to buy rentals, because that's like an every month check. And I have a property manager that handles all that. So, one day, I'm going to have so much equity on there. I can decide whether I sell it or not. And then people are paying my mortgage, and there's tax advantages. So there's all these multiple things that you can do. But I'm not too in a hurry of the passive, income due to my age. I still want to work, you know what I mean? Like, but that's something eventually that, that I want to just sit.
How old are you right now?
I am 32.
32.
Old.
So in your mind, like you got another 20 years of working? Is that what you're thinking?
Nah, probably 38, 40. Like I'm done. Like, yeah. I don't even think so.
You know what's crazy? When I got into the real estate business, when I was, I think I got my license when I was 19, 20, and I hit it off pretty good from the beginning. In my mind, I was like, I'm gonna retire when I'm 30. You know, that was it. You know, and then things happen, things change. You have your ebbs and flows, and sometimes it can be a little roller coaster ride. You know, and now I'm 45, and I'm like, man, dude, I honestly like for real, like I want to work another 5-6 years. You know, that's what I'm thinking. But things definitely do change. You have to adjust, and you get married, you have kids. And you start buying more things. But I think, ultimately, one thing that I always look at is, I value and I respect, my family, my parents, my aunts and uncles. But to be honest with you, I don't want to be working until I'm 70. I don't want to be climbing that mountain, with a pick up until I'm 70. I want to, because, by the time you're 70, you've gained a lot of assets and a lot of equity, but really, how strong are your knees? How healthy are you to go ahead and enjoy all that at 70 years old? So I mean, I think for me, like the key is like, hey, how can I get to this, semi-retirement, pretty soon, because I'm a little bit older, right? So I mean, that's how, like I think, I have to finish off here in the next 5, 6, 7 years and call it a day, right? So I mean, you still got a little bit of time, but we all have that number in our head that where we need to get to, so that we can kind of slow down a little bit.
You know what's funny? As of July, when we did that event last year, at that event, I was semi-retired already, but then I started wholesaling in September. So then I kind of like started working.
Came out of retirement.
Like I was good. Like I was literally for the last like 2 years before that, I was like taking naps at 2 p.m. every day. Monday through Friday. I was, I wasn't really, because, I did a lot of fix and flips, but everything was on autopilot that I was literally chilling at home. I was cooking at home. I ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner at home. I was, like I really didn't go out much, but checking out my properties once a week. But then I started wholesaling. I started the mentorship, and then I was like, oh shoot, now I'm working a lot. Because I remember, I don't know if you remember at the group or at the event that we had. I remember I spoke about it. I was like, I'm only working 3 to 4 hours a week. Literally, that's all I'm doing, because I'm just checking out my properties and that's it. But then I started wholesaling.
That's changed now.
Yeah, it changed now.
Yeah, so sometimes, like in life, you got to adapt to things, and things change, and you just got to move on. Yeah, so we did a speaking event engagement. What was it? It was like September, I think.
There's a lot of people there.
Yeah, there was a lot of people there, and for me, it was something that was like challenging because I don't really like speaking in front of a lot of people. And I remember when I was looking at you right before the event, you're already drinking, having a good time, and you're like partying it up. And I was like, I'm not having one drink. I'm not drinking any water. I'm not, because I'm like, because then I don't want to be on stage and I got to go to the bathroom or something. So, but I was super nervous for that event, but like that feeling that I got right after it, it was amazing because, I was the type of kid at high school that, would sit in the back of the class. I wouldn't ask questions. I was always respectful to the teachers and things like that. So I didn't really like speaking in front of a lot of people and a big audience, especially that size of an audience, but I definitely helped my confidence, and I think if there's another event that we have to speak in the future, I'd definitely be down. But it was a great event, man. So we got to chat for a little bit too and get to know each other a little bit better. And we're Peruvians too. I know your dad, and so I think it all that kind of connected us and brought us a little bit closer too. And you're friends with this guy here who's super famous and funny, and everybody knows him too. So I felt when we were going to do this podcast, like you're one of the first people that I wanted to get in here, so that we can share some of your experiences with people. So really happy to have you here.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, definitely very excited. I do have another question for you. What do you think the future of education is going to look like for you? Do you, like in the future, do you feel like you're just going to be doing education just because there's such a low overhead? You're going to be the next Hormozy. Like, do you anticipate that? Because I feel like you could trend in that direction.
Yes, you're right. But after doing 2 groups back to back, man, I need to take a break. I'm going to be honest to you, man. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. I love having mentees, and essentially I'm building a community at the end of the day. But after doing 2 back to back, man, I feel like it's a lot of work, man. It's they have 24/7 access to me. So just imagine right now I have 10 people maybe asking me about, hey, what do you think about the campus here? Hey, I'm about to go under contract. Or they send me a video, hey, I'm walking this one. What do you think about it? And it's all my students. And obviously that's something that they pay for. It's something that I'm accessible to them. So, but, after doing 2 back to back for 6 months straight, I think we're already on the 4th month. It is a lot, that's why I hired an assistant to help me out. But I think I'm going to take a break probably until next year to doing that, because I just want to, because I feel like I kind of like let go a little bit of my own side, because also I have to worry about my own fix and flips. I have to worry about my own wholesale deals. So I want to focus a little bit back onto that. But eventually, I mean, I don't know. I kind of want to do one-on-ones eventually. But then since I started wholesaling, man, I was like, man, I can make 10, 15 on this one. That's pretty much what I'm charging people. So I was like, it's not even worth it anymore. So yeah, that's also it came to my mind. I was like, man, I'm teaching someone a whole business, but this wholesale deal, in 2 weeks, make 15K a pop.
Well, maybe you need a higher fee.
Yeah, it could be that too.
Another thing that that I've thrown this idea around with you too would be doing some of the speaking or so, but in a different state, city, but all in Spanish, and I think that might be, there's only a few people who are actually doing that, and I'm fluent in Spanish, you're fluent in Spanish, Arnoldo is too. I think that would be another possibility too of, and you wouldn't be so much tied into the day-to-day of, someone's success. It'd be more on a broad scale, where we're going to different cities. But I think you're going on the right track there with the education, and I just kind of like seeing what you've done and accomplished, and it's nice, man. It's good, and I think you're inspiring to a lot of people as well. So I like that a lot.
I do like the events though. The events part is fun. So yeah, we're definitely working on that. Doing an event here in Colorado, all in Spanish. So that's in the books. Hopefully spring or summer this year. And then there's gonna be so many benefits out of that. Like our community, the Latino Hispanic community. You gotta understand, all these people have a lot of money. They just don't have the knowledge, or sometimes they don't have the papers. But they work construction and they literally maybe have $100,000 in their mattress or $100,000 on their vault, and
they could do a DSCR on an LLC.
Exactly. And there's so many benefits out of that. We can teach them how to invest, because you gotta understand, like our parents, they are taught, to save money, work until you die, and save all the money you have. But our, what's going on nowadays, it's like, invest your money. Investing actually can make you can make money faster than saving your thousand or whatever
leverage.
So that is why, like, our community or anybody in general, they need to know about investing. But our community in specific, they don't have that knowledge, because they come from our countries where they where first of all, getting a credit card or a loan is frowned upon. I remember I was in Peru like last year, and I asked for a mortgage, and they said that it's 15 years the longest, because the lady was like, wait, don't you want to pay this faster? But I was like, no, I'm gonna Airbnb it. I want them to pay it. And they have that different mentality where, like, getting loans is very, very frowned upon, and being on debt is so bad that here, as on being in real estate, we use debt as our advantage. We leverage debt. And that's how we're able to make all this money, because we leverage the bank's money, other people's money, and we're able to invest and get there faster.
Oh, that is very, very true. And I'm excited for this class, because when you and I first ran into each other at the WealthCon in Vegas, I feel like we learned so much because we were investing in ourselves to pretty much accelerate the learning curve. So I tell people, like, yes, you could do it yourself and not pay any money, but it's going to take you longer to get your desired results, as opposed to if you pay for some education and training, it'll accelerate your learning curve and you'll get to your desired goal at a lot of faster rate, even though you do invest that additional money. So that's why I'm super excited for you to have your mastermind here, because I feel like you're going to add a lot of value to the community.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with that.
All right, so I got to ask you a question. Okay. If you were to put something on a billboard, a quote, something inspirational, what would you put on it? Right outside. What would the billboard say?
Work hard, never give up.
But you work 3 to 4 hours a week? Make it make sense? The math ain't mathing.
He works hard those 3 hours.
Yeah,
that's it. Those 3 hours, he's working hard.
Yeah,
work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, exactly. Work smarter, not harder. That's do not milk the clock. Like back when we used to work 9 to 5, we just milk the clock. Here we're just
Wells Fargo. If you're hearing this, we did not say this.
That's what I did all the time. Just act like I was working on the computer, just to get that paycheck. But as we're entrepreneurs, we have all this time, not that much time, so we want to make sure we are putting down the work that we're supposed to do.
I think at the end it comes back to me. It always comes back to time. Like how do we get all our time back without losing some of the income that we're making? And I think that's where I think a lot of entrepreneurs strive to. They yes, we want to keep making the same money we're making or more, but how do we do that with having the input less time? So that we have more time to sleep in and go to the gym and read the newspaper, watch sports and
Pilates.
relax and walk around, walk the dog or whatnot. But I'm not where I want to be because I'm still like my time is limited. So like every when I'm working, I'm doing something. Like when I'm at the office, I don't like like messing around. Like I'm straight focusing on what I got at hand because I got to move on to the next thing. So I think ultimately for a lot of entrepreneurs, it just comes back down to time. How do we make more money without having to invest a lot more time? So I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. Right now, like you don't have kids, but the day you have kids, man, things change a lot. You're gonna want a lot more time to spend at home and with your family. But I think that's for me. That's what I'm trying to get is my time back.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Are you excited to becoming a dad?
But I don't know when that's gonna happen. Maybe in 5-10 years. I mean, I love kids, so that's definitely a goal I have in mind.
Okay. You have any more questions, bro?
I know. Okay.
All right, so close us out and give us your final thoughts, advice for our audience.
So I mean, whatever you guys are thinking of doing, I mean, I would just say, the hardest thing on any kind of business or anything that you're trying to pursue is taking that first step. And if you're out there listening to us, just take that first step. It's not that hard after you take that first step and you just push through, and you get that done.
Ooh. Where can our audience find you?
So I'm big on Instagram. So Instagram is Rafael RE_. I literally post everything on there, walking properties, my life. That's where you guys can find me.
Rafael, thank you for being with us today at the Mile High Real Estate Hustle podcast, and we will see you soon.
Thank you, guys.